Hello, everyone. My name is Pianpian. I'm the founder and CEO of Emotions. Emotions is a platform to help you and your team be more effective, improve relationships, and help you attract and retain talent and master soft skills. Today, we're very happy to have certified leadership coach Lisa Reese here. Lisa, thank you so much for joining us.
You are so welcome. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Lisa, you have extensive experience leading teams in the federal workforce. Would you like to add anything to your introduction?
Sure. Yes, I do have extensive experience. I have over 3 decades of leading teams. And also, my background is quite interesting. A lot of people didn't realize that I have a strong budget, finance, strategic planning cadre of skills that I have honed over these years. And about, I don't know, maybe 8 years ago, I decided to change career fields to become a leadership coach because I really wanted to help leaders who were struggling and also organizations who were floundering or weren't as successful as they wanted to be.
Mhm.
So I have had quite a long career that I've learned a lot, and I'm really excited to be sharing some thoughts with you today about change management.
Sounds great. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, change management is actually a common topic that I heard that are challenges that leaders face in different organizations. Curious what kind of changes have you seen your clients or people have gone through? Some challenges that have heard, including, for example, changes that come with a high growth startup or changes that come with a large corporation that's undergoing restructuring, leadership change, or strategy change. And then in that case, like what are the suggestions you have for leaders who are going through those?
Yeah. Well, change is inevitable. And it is also really difficult. It's difficult to lead change. It's difficult to manage change.
Mhm.
And just those things that you were mentioning about startups or mergers or things like that. But when you think about how the world has changed, even recently, think about COVID and how that has brought such a different dimension into the workplace. Being in the federal government for many years, we were required to come in the office every day. It was an 8 o'clock to 4:30 job, and we had meetings. We collaborated with our colleagues. Our boss was accessible to us. And then all of a sudden, things started to change a little bit. The workplace started to change. We had younger people coming into our workforce, which brought a brand new dynamic. People who grew up only on the internet. That's all they know, the iPhones and the iPads and things like that, the way they communicate, through Twitter and Insta and all those platforms. And at work, we had to change our ways of communication. Before, remember those days of we actually picked up a phone,
Right.
and now it's about Teams and about chatting and about Slack. So the way that we work has changed, and who we work with has changed,
Mhm.
because we really are in this now telework environment where what we're doing right now is the norm. And that even though leaders and executives are excited about the workplace, workforce coming back to the workforce isn't as excited. So when you add all of that onto where we are in our society, where we are with what's happening in the world, I call, and this is not a term that I coined, but we're living in this VUCA world: volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous.
Right.
And so it really takes a special leader and an organization who embraces change to really, uh, you know, have the skills that they need to be able to do this. It's very complicated and complex.
That's right. What are the skills and capabilities do leaders need to go through?
Well, it
Yeah.
is about understanding that they do live in this complex world and that things are not going to go back the way they were. And I think that that is sometimes difficult for leaders who are comfortable with leading the way they did. So, what it requires is a leader, an executive, who is first of all, open to change, but also understands how others may be feeling about change. What I've found over the years is that people are reluctant to change, even though we know it's good for business. We know that we have to stay fresh. We constantly have to be innovating and changing. But our proclivity to change is actually resistance because our brains crave certainty. Our brains crave peace and calm. And so when things start to become volatile, a leader needs to be able to recognize in their people that there's something deeper going on. And so I feel that one of the biggest skills that a leader and executive can possess is about emotional intelligence. And I know a lot of people are like, well, that's something that's been around for years. Why do I need to do it? Or even they think that they are. But what I'm talking about is our ability to connect to other people, the people on their workforce or their clients or their customers. Are they picking up on these emotional social cues? Are they really understanding how people are feeling? Because sometimes we make decisions and people are, we think that they're going along with us, and all of a sudden we're caught off guard because emotion happens. So when you're saying to people, we need to change, oftentimes what I hear is change is hard because it requires everybody to change. People see it as not always being better. That's change just because for change's sake. Mm-hmm. So it's not always viewed as positive. It's not always viewed as something that is welcomed. People can see change as confusing. They can see it as a threat. They can see it as, what, I'm not good enough, or we weren't good enough that we have to change. So, and it can also create like a perceived or actual loss to people. I'm losing something that I valued. So I feel that where emotional intelligence comes in is that we have empathy and compassion for others. We use it to connect to people and to ask them how they really are doing and to understand, why do they feel the way they do? And then finally, once you have all that information, is how do we now manage that emotion in myself? Because I might want people to change, get frustrated. And how do I stay open and able to really go deeper with people to connect to those people? So I think that is one of many. There's others as well that go with change management. What does an executive have to possess?
Mm-hmm. So to summarize, one is to be open to changes. The second is to be attuned to how other people feel about changes and pay attention to their emotions and have empathy and how to connect deeper with them in the emotional level, right?
Exactly. Because when you do that, it really does help people realize that you care about them. Right. And that when you focus on what other people value, what their values are, and you get to know them, right, then you start to then realize that you can engage them and motivate them through what's important to them. Right. So for an example, coming back to work, I may be very hesitant because I've gotten used to the flexibility, and you're taking that away from me now. Mm-hmm. Now, if I know that flexibility is important to you as a leader, I will, talk about this, like, how can we make this work? And so it is really about honing in your skills to connect to other people, to understand them, and then to move them through their values, not cramming your own values or your own ideas down their, throat, so to speak. It's really about listening too. Listening is a wonderful skill too.
That's great. Yeah, that's really good point. And as follow-up, what kind of questions or how would you ask somebody so they would actually tell you about their values and what they care about?
Yeah. So first of all, you need to show that you care. People can see through you. Mm-hmm. If you're not being authentic, people can smell it a mile away. Mm-hmm. So first, you have to take a genuine interest in your employees to show that you care about their personal life and their professional life.
Mhm.
And also to share about yourself. I see oftentimes leaders will shut down. They won't share something personal, or they won't share how they're feeling. And what happens is it creates a barrier. And so I say to leaders, show some humility and and being vulnerable
Yeah.
and being open, which is really hard to do, because if I'm the boss, I have all the answers.
Yeah.
And really, one of the things I find that's almost liberating is when I tell leaders, you can't possibly have all the answers. You don't have all the answers. And think about it, when you have hired all these wonderfully talented people, think of the knowledge that they have. Because a leader, really what they do is they leverage strengths, and therefore the weaknesses become less important, because you're focusing on what you're good at and where. And also, a leader needs to be visionary. It's really important to have their own vision and to be passionate.
Mhm.
So I'm not saying that every leader has to be charismatic and extroverted, but I'm saying that you need to be able to communicate in moving ways so that people can see where they're headed, and then to invite them into the conversation. Because I see a lot of times when decisions are made on behalf of others, you feel left out and not disrespected. And it's not intentional, but I think sometimes an executive or a leadership team may think, oh, we're all smart, therefore we're going to execute, rather than inviting stakeholders to
Mhm.
the table. And when I say stakeholders, I mean anybody who touches the business, anybody who, we've heard this thing about NASA when they're interviewing, why is NASA a great place to work? And when they ask a janitor, what do you do? He says, I send people to the moon. That's the kind of employee we want, right? So I really feel that if a leader can connect and listen, be humble, and invite everybody to the conversation, can really go a long way into reaching their goals.